Not the F-35, not a sixth-generation fighter, but the glorious F-15. A design that's over 30 years old is what will save the Air Force for the next 10 years. Of course, there's much more to this story, so come with me to understand exactly what's happening in Uncle Sam's skies. Hello and welcome to Warfare Today. In the late 1960s, the U.S. Air Force was very concerned about the performance of their fighters in the Vietnam War, particularly the F-105, which often performed worse than fighter jets considered obsolete at the time, such as the MiG-17. The emergence of advanced Soviet interceptors like the MiG-23 and MiG-25 sounded the alarm in the upper echelons of the U.S. Air Force, serving as an incentive for the development of a new fighter. In December 1969, the Air Force selected the McDonnell Douglas project, which would become known as the F-15, an aircraft packed with technological innovations for its time, such as a look-down, shoot-down radar, which allowed the fighter to lock onto targets flying between it and the ground. The fighter was relatively large and heavy, but incredibly agile and fast, with plenty of room for expansions and the inclusion of new sensors and equipment. All this space and versatility paved the way for the development of new versions, resulting in the F-15C single-seat and F-15D two-seat versions by the late 1970s. It was capable of carrying more fuel, with a greater takeoff weight, and equipped with the APG-63 radar, considered one of the most advanced in the world. In the 1980s, the Air Force needed a fighter capable of performing aerial missions against well-protected areas behind enemy lines, without the need for electronic warfare escort aircraft. Instead of starting from scratch with a new project that would be very expensive and time-consuming, they decided to use the F-15 Eagle as the basis. This led to the birth of the F-15E Strike Eagle in 1988. A large, heavy, and very robust fighter that is incredibly agile and fast, capable of reaching twice and a half the speed of sound with a combat radius of 745 miles, carrying up to 10 tons in external tanks, sensors, weapons, and ammunition. It is a true workhorse capable of performing all types of missions that are expected of a combat aircraft with equal efficiency. It was a great sales success, with America operating around 220 aircraft, Saudi Arabia, 70, South Korea, 60, Qatar, 36, and Israel, 25. In addition to these F-15E Strike Eagles, the United States still operates about 200 F-15 Eagles, some of them almost 40 years old, seen as obsolete aircraft by Pentagon standards, which due to their obsolescence and the approaching end of their service life, will need to be replaced urgently. The problem for the Air Force is finding a replacement for these 200 planes. The F-22 is available in limited numbers and is reserved for special air superiority missions such as intercepting aircraft approaching American airspace. The F-35A, which is the traditional takeoff and landing version made for the Air Force, is not only very expensive but also has a production program that is behind schedule due to technical problems that took a long time to resolve. To replace the F-15 Eagle, the Air Force had the option of producing the F-15E Strike Eagle, but it's not a particularly cheap fighter, and besides, the Pentagon doesn't want to spend too much money on that model, since the priority for the next few decades will be the F-35A. It was with the aim of finding an alternative solution that the F-15EX Eagle II was born in 2021. Entirely based on the F-15 Eagle, but with avionics fully updated to the standards of the F-15E Strike Eagle. One of the great innovations of the F-15EX is its incredible capacity for missile transport, with this model capable of carrying an almost unbelievable number of 22 air-to-air missiles. The great advantage of this version is its relatively cheap but thoroughly tested and proven structure, with very advanced avionics, but also already well tested and relatively cheap due to being mass-produced for the F-15E Strike Eagle. With the F-15EX, the Air Force will have the best of both worlds, a robust and reliable structure supported by state-of-the-art sensors and avionics. The project is so promising that the Pentagon updated its budget for 2024, ordering a total of 104 F-15EX fighters that will replace the F-15 Eagles over the next 10 years.